First, it's noted that Jeroboam was originally a capable, industrious servant under King Solomon. He came from the tribe of Ephraim and was recognized for his talents. Solomon put him in charge of some labor forces from the house of Joseph. At that time, the nation of Israel was still united, though internal tensions were building. After Solomon deviated from true worship by marrying many foreign wives and embracing their gods, Jehovah decreed that most of the kingdom would be torn away from Solomon's lineage. It's here that a prophet, Ahijah from Shiloh, approached Jeroboam, symbolically tearing a garment into 12 pieces and giving 10 of them to Jeroboam. This act illustrated Jehovah's intent to grant Jeroboam leadership over 10 of the 12 tribes of Israel. Jehovah's Witnesses highlight that this was not a mere political maneuver. It was a divine judgment against the spiritually wayward policies of Solomon and his successor, Rehoboam. After Solomon died, tensions flared under King Rehoboam, Solomon's son. When Rehoboam refused to lighten the labor burdens on the northern tribes, they revolted. 10 tribes broke away and acknowledged Jeroboam as their king, fulfilling the prophecy given through Ahijah. At first glance, Jeroboam had a golden opportunity. According to Jehovah's Witnesses, Jehovah even promised Jeroboam that if he remained faithful, if he followed the commandments and upheld pure worship, he and his dynasty could experience lasting stability and blessing. Thus, he began his reign not as an enemy of God's people, but as one who could have led them back to proper worship of Jehovah. However, soon after acquiring power, Jeroboam allowed fear and human reasoning to overshadow faith and obedience. He worried that if his subjects regularly traveled south to Jerusalem to worship at the temple, their allegiance might shift back to King Rehoboam. Instead of trusting in Jehovah's promise of security, Jeroboam took matters into his own hands. He set up 2 golden calves, one in Bethel and another in Dan, and proclaimed to the northern tribes, "Here is your God, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt." 1 Kings chapter 12 verse 28. According to Jehovah's Witnesses, this brazen act of idolatry was not merely a political tactic, it was a direct offense against Jehovah. It also laid the foundation for ongoing apostasy in the northern kingdom. In addition to establishing idol worship, Jeroboam appointed priests from among all the people, not just Levites. He changed the timing of festivals, thus creating a counterfeit form of worship. Jehovah's Witnesses emphasize that this distortion of true worship was significant because it turned the hearts of an entire nation away from the proper temple arrangement Jehovah had instituted in Jerusalem. Jeroboam's justification was political self-preservation, but from a spiritual standpoint, he undermined the nation's covenant relationship with their God. Jehovah did not leave Jeroboam's conduct without warning. A man of God was sent from Judah to denounce the altar at Bethel where Jeroboam offered sacrifices. The miraculous sign given at that time, splitting the altar, proved that Jeroboam's religious system was offensive to Jehovah. Instead of humbling himself, Jeroboam persisted. Despite the warnings, he continued on his chosen path. Jehovah's Witnesses note that this hardened attitude exemplified how human pride and fear of losing control can lead even once promising leaders astray, resulting in spiritual ruin. From that point forward, Jeroboam became synonymous with apostasy in Israel. Later biblical writers often referred to the northern kings as walking in the way of Jeroboam, if they perpetuated idolatry and resisted pure worship. According to Jehovah's Witnesses, his legacy cast a long shadow. None of the subsequent kings of the northern kingdom fully returned to Jehovah's standards. Instead, they continued to be influenced by the precedent Jeroboam set. Because of this entrenched pattern of unfaithfulness, the northern kingdom never regained divine favor, and eventually, it fell to the Assyrian Empire in 722 BCE. The seeds Jeroboam planted, seeds of syncretism, idolatry, and disobedience, proved ruinous for many generations. In their publications, Jehovah's Witnesses use Jeroboam's story as a moral and spiritual lesson. They point out that Jeroboam's critical error was not political acumen or military incompetence. He was likely a talented leader in secular terms, but a lack of trust in Jehovah. He actively disregarded divine guidance and replaced it with human calculations. Instead of relying on God's promise, Jeroboam compromised true worship for political expediency. For Jehovah's Witnesses, the takeaway is clear. Pure worship must never be abandoned for material stability or human approval. One must trust in God's instructions, even if from a human standpoint the chosen course may appear less secure. They also stress how this account demonstrates Jehovah's patience and fairness. He gave Jeroboam a chance. Through the prophet Ahijah, Jehovah communicated that if Jeroboam did what was right, he would bless him. But Jeroboam's ultimate failure was a matter of personal choice and lack of faith. Thus, the downfall of his dynasty and the enduring negative influence he left on Israel's history highlight the consequences of disregarding divine counsel. In summary, according to Jehovah's Witnesses and the information readily available on jw.org, Jeroboam stands as a cautionary figure. Initially favored and granted the privilege of ruling 10 of the tribes, he forfeited divine backing through self-interest, fear-driven decisions, and idolatrous worship. Please share and like and please subscribe.